welcome everyone.
Morning.
We're live on everything. Yeah, perfect. So welcome to episode 16. 16 of the property duo. James has had his weekly or bi-weekly haircut. So
dude, that's 4 months.
What's 4 months? Oh,
this celebrates 4 months today.
Is it
like
4 month? Yeah,
it's like an anniversary.
The 4-month anniversary. I mean, well, congratulations us. Big up us for 4 months of, or me putting up with you, frankly. Let's be honest. So today's topic is tenants. I think we've spoken a lot about, like, you know, the beginning bit of property, the middle bit, and we've still got loads left to talk about, but we've never really spoken about the sort of the end, or what you hope is the end, and our experiences with tenants, because they are humans, and humans by their nature are very, very, very annoying. But they pay the bills and they allow your portfolio to exist if you have rental. So we want to talk about our experiences finding tenants, managing tenants, and just generally like our thoughts and feelings on tenants, and some of our horror stories perhaps. I'm sure James has horror stories. He found some interesting paraphernalia today in one of his HMOs, so I'm sure he can talk through that. But before we get into that, James, are we going to talk about the HMO experience now? Let's talk about it near the end. Should we near the end?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's have a weekly recap. How's your week been, buddy?
My buddy, you know who you remind me of? 𝗬𝗵𝗲𝗺.
Don't say it.
You're 𝗬𝗵𝗲𝗺.
I knew you was gonna say that. I'm the mayor of 𝗏.
You're not Delboy, you're Dalboy. You literally, you are
buddy in the house. Buddy.
𝗬𝗵𝗲𝗺. Anyone listening to this podcast, you know you're agreeing with me, and I can see everyone in the Zoom is like, yep.
Dude, my wife is fascinated with 𝗬𝗵𝗲𝗺.
He's
loves
so
it.
funny. He is like, he makes people just do nothing. He makes that. He's so incredible. He needs to be more famous. Big up my local boy, mayor of Hounslow. So yeah, my week, it's been interesting. I had a property that's had a few problems after the tenants moved in because of previous work from bad builders. So what was a let's replace a 12 quid part on a boiler became let's replace another 12 quid part on a boiler, and became the whole thing is fucked. So that's now gone from, you know, 150 quid day rate for the gas man, 30 quid of parts, to 300 quid labor and 650 pounds for the boiler and parts. So it's gone from, you know, this to $1,000 and a little bit. And I think, you know, it's one of these things where it's just weird. I've had the heating on in that house for 3 months straight. Yeah, my bills were mad, but I just had it on to keep it, you know, low, keep it warm, and there weren't any problems. And then sort of it kind of happens, and it got a gas safe certificate. But just something to note from everyone, a gas safe doesn't, you know, mean it's going to run for months and be okay. It just means for the hour or so they're there on the property, it worked. And, you know, as much as you can't say to them, can you sit there all day and wait? They should, but whatever. So gas safes don't mean that it's fully functioning. It just means it's safe. There's no leaks, there's no issues, but it doesn't, I said there's no leaks. There's no dangerous leaks of gas or things like that. There could still be water leaks. So, you know, don't just rely on that. Whereas an electrical safe certificate, I think, is a lot better, even though it's not even mandatory. Well, it is becoming mandatory now, because that really goes through every single thing and tests everything. So they are different. And yeah, gas safe certificates are not the sort of the sign that you have a great boiler. So yeah, transformed that, and I've been going back and forth with the tenant to try and work that out, and otherwise just dealing with, you know, a few snags on a property. Big up Mario, went and checked some of the one of my properties for me. He's going to check some more for me this week, so it's good to have someone on site who can just send videos, be very, very critical. The build that you funded, or you got funded for me, it was meant to start on Monday, but the great plaster drought of 2020 has returned for the second spike or trough. So we're going to have to start with the outside work, the guttering, the stairs, bits and bobs, whilst we're waiting for plaster, because it's sort of holding up. It's holding up actually most of my jobs. So British Gypsum, thank you for nothing. Yeah, otherwise, it's been a fairly stressful week, with the usual bit of anxiety and challenges, but I feel pretty tranquil. I've had a stomachache for 7 days, which is nice. Yeah, I play tennis on Sunday, James. I play tennis. I play tennis. I know you can tell by the tennis shoulder, but yeah, mate. It's been
tennis elbow, you mean?
They're not dry. Right, James, that's my week. Nothing too eventful, I don't think, apart from our exciting news that we're going to share later.
Well, I've had a great
over
week.
to you. Yeah,
I've had a great week, man. I've had a great week. So, last Friday, 6 p.m, we completed on the 4 houses. So we now own four extra houses that are being converted into HMOs. So super excited about that. Finally got there. Again, those were deals that never came to the market. Nobody ever saw them on Rightmove. They were straight from an agent to myself. It just goes to say building up a relationship with an agent is very, very important because it pays dues later on down the line. It may not at the time when you're talking to them or being quite nice to them and doing things, but yeah, I'm super excited that we've completed on those because it's been a long time coming. We lost it once and it came through, so we got those. Really looking forward to starting those. I've got multiple extra strategies planned with those because I don't really know what I'm going to do with them at the moment. I might even try and offload them if I can. I'm thinking maybe make a quick buck on them. Way the market is, but lots of uncles talking this and that, saying this is going to happen, that's going to happen. Not that we ever listen to uncles, but hey. The other exciting news, you might have seen it on my Instagram live yesterday, was this the first time I've ever done a live, Tej. First time I've ever done a live.
I could tell it was really amateur. Yeah.
No, shut up.
No, it was. I was proud of you. I could tell you were a bit nervous. Is this working? Hi everyone, just jumping on a live. It was cute, man. It was well done.
Shut up. What a toss for. Anyway, so I did the live and it was great. Yeah, so I'm super happy. I finally watched the last tenant leave yesterday. And you know what? It was quite emotional because I've become although those tenants haven't paid the agent any rent, I've become quite emotional. I've become quite emotionally attached to them because they've, I've listened to their pains. I've listened to some of the stuff they've gone through, their life stories, and some of them have had some really challenging times, So little old James here, they were kind of resonated with him a little bit. So it's sad to see the last one go, but nevertheless, really happy to get my house back. I did a live yesterday. If you saw it, you would have seen the shit down the walls, which is what I wanted to show you on the live. Remember I told you about that toilet leak?
Oh yeah, actual shit.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, so there was doo-doo coming down the walls. Some of you's got to meet my mum who was there. Super Mum was there yesterday just getting rid of stuff. And she was just crazy. She was on one yesterday. She just clearing the place out. She's like, no way is this house staying like this for longer than it needs to. My son was down there yesterday trying to help out as well, but he's being more of a nuisance, looking forward to his McDonald's rather than helping.
I think he was crying because you made him do work.
Did you see that video? I didn't want to publicly post that video, but yeah, I made him help me take some tools out of the garage and load up the car and come and help us. And he was crying all the way through because he had some online gaming tournament that was more important than helping his little old dad.
I feel his pain, though. I feel his pain, man.
Yeah. But you know what? It's good. He's 10 years old. He's old enough to work. He's old enough to have a job. I think he needs to start paying his dues. So
he's old enough to have a job. Is that the law?
Listen, he's old enough to have a job with me.
Okay.
He's old enough to have a job with me.
Okay.
I had a paper round when I was 10.
Okay, fine. I just want to make sure you're not promoting child labour.
No. He's old enough to work. I'm sorry. He is old enough to work with me.
Just a disclaimer. Thank you.
So really looking forward to starting this HMO now, just getting it all cleared out. And also big up our boy Andrew, who came all the way from Cardiff. All the way from Cardiff to give me a quote on my job. And this guy, the minute he walked in, he knew exactly what I wanted, looked around the job. I think we spent more time having a coffee and a sandwich after and having a bit of a chat than actually talking about the job. But I'm super, super excited there. Do you know what? One thing is, it just goes to show you how hungry some people are, to succeed. And he's one of those guys, man, who jumps in a van, travels 3 and a bit hours to London to see a job.
And to quote, not to even do the job, just to quote.
To quote, exactly. I can't get people 3 miles down the road that want to come down. Oh, you know what? It's too far. So what? We mean it's too far? This is a good job, man. This is a big job. No, brother, you know what? I'll come and see you next week. When that brother line comes out? It's all right, brother. I'll come and see you next week. Listen, number one, you're not my brother. Stop calling me brother. And I know you're not going to turn up the minute you say brother.
Yep.
So, yeah. That was it for me. Really looking forward to getting it started, though, man. It's been a long time coming.
I mean, yeah, we're looking forward to showing the people as well on our HMO experience, which we'll get to, showing them your HMO going from literally a shithole, or there is a hole with a shit in it, so it's a shithole, to being I assume an amazing, well-designed, incredible HMO at the end of it. So no pressure. Cool. James, let's talk about tenants. I think maybe you should start because, as you said, you know, you got emotionally connected to these tenants. You formed a bit of a bond with them. You know, was it like watching the Porsche get taken away on the truck? Was it like that when they left? Was it the same parallel?
No, not really. Not really.
No, yeah, the Porsche.
Not that much pain. Yeah. Oh my, that's bad. That's bad. So anyway,
so with these tenants, so like your experience with these tenants, right, was that they didn't pay rent, right? And of course, naturally, our instinct as business people, if someone doesn't pay our invoice, if someone doesn't pay us rent, it's what the fuck are you doing? You owe us. And I'm sort of with that because if you're providing a service, someone needs to pay for it. I have no, if someone doesn't pay their rent, fuck off. Like, simple as that. However, you were unaware of the situation that made them not pay their rent. So maybe talk me through that situation and then maybe the human side of how you connected with them and realized, actually, I can see why you're not paying the rent.
Yeah, so do you know what? I think I want to start with something a little bit off top. Well, not off topic, but I think it's very important. I think, you know what? It's too often that, well, do you know what? I don't actually like that word tenant because you see all these programs on TV, slumlord, you know, landlord, slum tenant, tenant next door that doesn't pay, and all this nonsense. I think tenants get a bad name. And you know what? Ultimately, what you got to realize is without that tenant, you ain't really got a business, you know, because your tenant is the one that's taking on your product and paying you money. And something my mum said to me yesterday, which was really, really weird. She goes to me, she goes, you know, back in the days, she goes, the old guys would say that it's not easy earning rent from a tenant. And I thought, what does she mean by that? And she goes, look, she goes, it's never been easy back in the, what, even now, to earn money from a tenant because you've got to provide a certain standard of living. And I think she was referring to the house when she's looking around it, saying it's not easy. You know, obviously it was a shit tip. And I think too often, us people as landlords or investors, developers, we put the tenant in a bad flipping box, man. It's always the tenant's fault. It's always the tenant's fault. And you know what? I've come to realize that 9 times out of 10, it probably is their fault. But you know what? There's that small percentage of tenants that are really, really genuinely nice people. And I've got it. I've got it in certain properties where I have no problem with rent. You know, I've had tenants reach out and say, look, I know COVID's going on. I just want to reassure you that we're not going to be stopping any rent because we don't need to. And what a lovely message to get from a tenant. You know, sent them a £50 Amazon voucher for that just to say, hey, thank you. Been thinking about you. And just random gesture of goodwill, you know. And you think, that'll go a long way because when renewal comes up and her rent goes up a little bit, she's going to think he's a great guy. But anyway, so it got me thinking, why did these guys stop paying rent, Ted? You know, and when I went around that house, within 10 minutes, I knew exactly why they stopped paying rent. Come on, having shit coming down a wall, I think is a great reason to stop your rent.
I think definitely, I agree with you there. Yeah.
So, and then listening to the pains that they've had, a washing machine that never, I paid for a brand new washing machine, ordered it to the letting agent's place. They were going to get their guy to go around and install it. Washing machine never turned up. I've got a delivery note saying a washing machine was delivered to the agent's office. And these guys are telling me about a year later, well, 6 months later, we haven't had a washing machine for 6 months. I'm like, what? What do you mean? I ordered one like within days for you. Anytime there was an issue, I addressed it my end. But these guys were never addressing it their end, which was a little bit naughty. And then, you know, little things like a HMO is supposed to have a cleaner. There was no cleaner, bruv. No cleaner at all, you know. I'm talking muck on the floor, like flies, mice.
Oh, you nasty.
Bed bugs. I've never, what the hell? They had brand new beds in there. Where the hell do bed bugs come from? And that can only be an issue where it hasn't been cleaned properly, right?
I assume so, yeah. Or if they haven't had a washing machine, then what? Well,
yeah. So yeah, they're bedding with, I guess. So the bottom line is, man, we're too quick to judge a tenant and say it's a tenant's fault. Sometimes you need to take, you know, a kind of a back seat and kind of see it from their point of view. And I think number one tip is whenever you've got an issue with a tenant and you've got a management agent involved or a letting agent involved, a letting agent will tell you all kinds of shit, man. They'll tell you that the sky is blue outside when it's not blue. They'll tell you everything, yeah, that you want to hear. sometimes it's easier just to knock on the door and speak to a tenant and say, hey man, listen, what's up? Let's sit down and have a quick coffee. Tell me what's going on. Because I can tell you one thing, that tenant's not going to bullshit you. Because if he's got a problem, he's going to tell you exactly what his problems are. And I think very few tenants will stop paying rent unless there is an issue. It might be an employment issue. It might be the way the house is, or there might just be their personal circumstances, you know? I remember one of the tenants telling me that, look, his child support has increased. So he's got to pay his, as he called her, his baby mama, some extra money. So I'm thinking, all right, you know, he's got to pay her some extra money. He's only earning a certain amount of money. He's not asking me, can I give him a discount? He's saying, can you defer it for a little while and I'll drib it to you. I'd rather have a little bit drib to me than not have it at all, you know? Sometimes I suppose you've got to work with these people as well and realize where they're coming from. So another hot tip, sometimes don't believe what the letting agent or the management agent's telling you, because sometimes it can just be a load of shit, because you got to remember they're earning their commission every month and they're going to tell you whatever they can to earn that commission.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, this is why I self-manage, because at the end of the day, I don't need a middle person to tell me what the tenant's telling me. Yes, it's helpful with issues because you have a middle person, which can actually be useful. But a lot of the time, you know, they don't care about your property like you do, or the tenant like you do. They see it as, oh, that's that address. That's Mr. and Mrs. this. That's one of 200 properties. Oh, whatever. Just tell it. He lives 400 miles away. Just tell him it's fine. No one cares. When actually you yourself are going to be a lot more responsive and even a lot more human. You know, like if there's an issue, I don't know, I think it's something that I don't enjoy it necessarily, but when I, like, you know, with this tenant, we've had not heating and not hot water for about 24 hours, and he was sort of kind of complaining, and I said, look, there's nothing I can do, I'm really sorry, blah, blah. And we had a proper chat, and just sort of, you know, I sent him a voice note and kind of just explained, look, I'm totally with you, I totally agree, and just kind of talked it through. And it was all good, and rent was paid as is. You know, he could have said, well, we haven't had heating, well, I'm not paying rent. But he didn't, because it's his obligation and his responsibility. But I know a letting agent would have said, hi, we're really sorry for your inconvenience, bye. Not 3 minutes of me being like, look, it's my, you know, house, it's your home. I totally understand where you're coming from. You know, next time, what I'll do is I'll order an Amazon heater next day, or I'll tell the plumber to bring you and let you. So it's all about, like, we are problem solvers as entrepreneurs, and, you know, we're property investors, we're not managing agents. But okay, if I have to spend, you know, I've got 12 properties now, most moving up to most are let. If I have to spend, I don't know, a couple of hours every month, sending a voice note, sending a text, texting John and saying, oh mate, can you just run over and just fix the pipe, send me an invoice. I mean, and to make thousands of pounds a month, but do nothing else. I don't know about you, but I'm not complaining, because I kind of need something to do else I get bored. But also, it strengthens a relationship. And that Amazon thing you said, fantastic idea. I'm definitely going to do that with 2 of my tenants, because they have always paid. And if they had to pay like over a split because of Corona or something over like a day later, they were like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was like, look, do your thing. Like, let's work this out. Whereas an agent would just be so formal with it. They wouldn't, you know, you may not want to get too personal with your tenants. And I don't, like, but I think there has to be a certain level, because, you know, most landlords or most agents are just a faceless corporation. They don't text them. They don't know what they look like. They don't know anything about them, right? But if you just do something slightly different, and it could still be email or text, but just talk to them normally, they're like, oh, this landlord, like, I've had tenants say to me, you're the best landlord I've ever had, and I've rented for 30 years. I'm like, I've been in this game for like a year now. How am I the best landlord you've had? That's not a compliment to me. That's offensive to the wider industry of how shit it is.
Yeah.
Which actually shows us that to be better, you don't have to do that much. You just have to be a nice human, which is mad. But I guess that's the old school view. And maybe like I say our generation, you know what I mean? Bring in a different...
Watch it.
Bring in a different level of... communication, you know, it's like a fintech versus a bank. There's a huge difference in how they operate and how we feel about them, but they do the same shit, give or take, except fintechs aren't as corrupt as banks yet. So James, finding tenants, right? So we've kind of said that, you know, we've got tenants, and generally speaking, we have the majority of our tenants are good, and even your ones who didn't pay rent were probably still good tenants, but the house wasn't good. When it comes to finding a tenant, because that's where the problem or the solution or it's like cure or prevention. Don't rush into finding a tenant. Don't just go for the first tenant. You obviously want to find a good tenant. What are your tips or even your experiences with like finding tenants? Do you do it? Do agents do it? How do you get good tenants at the start?
I think first of all, you got to ask yourself the question. Number one is, are you going to have a management agent or a letting agent manage these for you, or are you going to self-manage them? If you're going to use a letting agency, I would say you need to do your research on the letting agency. Now, it's quite easy to do that these days. Yeah, you just type their name into Google, read their reviews. Yeah, and also what you want to find out is how long have they been going? How long have they been about? Give you an example. My house over in Southwest, the new one that we let out. Now, we could have put that up with a number of letting agents that were charging us quite a lot lower than these guys were. I mean, these guys were charging us about 13%. But there's a very good reason for that. They've been around a long time. They know the area, and their vetting process, their vetting process was just amazing. I'll give you an example. So the first woman who wanted to take on the place, they vetted her all up. Her income all came up, everything. As soon as they did a credit check on her, she had one CCJ against her for a mobile phone contract when she was 18. It was for a bill that was missed because she wasn't there. Something happened. She got a judgment on it. They rejected her for that. If you think about it, this woman was 36 now. So from the ages of 30, it was still showing up on her file. And, you know, it's a minor, but to them, it was big enough for them to reject this person because she didn't pass their tenants referencing. She even offered to pay the rent for the whole year up front, and they still rejected her because their words to me was, look, James, if you want to take the risk and take her on, our insurance doesn't cover it, because she's got that against her on her file. Their insurance doesn't cover it. They said they're going to put a caveat in the contract saying that you took her on. If there's ever a problem in the future where she stops paying, that's totally down to you. As annoying as this was, I thought, man, she's about to sign up for 3 years and pay for a whole year. Who doesn't want that? Everybody wants that. But then alarm bells in the back of my head started ringing, thinking, okay, you know what? Did I just see some stripy socks?
Yeah, you did. That was very quick. My phone just collapsed on me. But
Come on. You got to show those stripy socks now to everybody.
No, listen, they're yellow stripy socks, aren't they?
Okay. Anyway, so I was really like annoyed at first, but then I thought to myself, no, this is the difference between an agency that really cares. They got a set vetting process, and they gave me an agency credit check, you know, and it shows you like green traffic lights, red, green, yellow, on what their ratings are like, their employment rating, and they have to have an up-to-date employer's reference. And it's nice to see that. It's reassuring for you to see that, because you're thinking, you know, I've just spent all this money on this house and someone's really, really vetting this person properly. So my tips are, if you're using a letting agency or a management agency, you want to find out what process they've got in place. What are they going to let slip, or what are they not going to let slip? The good ones will let nothing slip because it's tied to their insurance, especially if they're offering you some kind of rent guarantee. Rent guarantee, I know a lot of the policies will only cover it if the tenant is vetted and they've got nothing on their credit file that will come off. Now, if you're managing it on your own, sorry, before I get to managing it on your own, to give you an example, where these guys have moved from my house, Tej, into these rooms that I found them, it's a rent-to-rent. Some young guys have rented the property. They're doing a rent-to-rent. Dude, they did no credit checks whatsoever. Nothing.
Nice. Lovely.
Nothing.
Asking for trouble, aren't you?
They rang me up and they said, how are these guys? I said, they're fine. And they go, okay, we'll take them. And that was it. That was it. They took them on. Yeah. So it goes to show you that at this side of the scale, you got someone who will reject someone on a mobile phone contract. You got someone on this scale who will just take the word of somebody saying, yeah, they're all right.
That's ridiculous. Like, you're just asking for, I mean, I don't agree with either approach, because you know what, I don't understand how you can miss a CCJ on your record, how you can't be aware of it, and how you can miss pretty serious letters from the government saying, we're going to put a CCJ in your name for those many years. I get that. But depending on the rest of her profile, I would be inclined to accept someone like that. And as long as there was a guarantee that they were going to then redeem that CCJ or pay it off, which is weird. If it's a mobile phone bill, it's like 15 quid. Why they even put a CCJ is just mad for over 15 quid. I personally would look at it differently, and I know that my agent would always bring that to me and say, Ted, look, this has been flagged up. What do you think of this? Otherwise, it's pretty clear. She's good. She's offering this. She's offering that. What do you reckon? And of course, like you said, it's up to me to make that decision. But I would look at it as a bigger picture and say if it was a CCJ for like scamming someone, yeah, out the door, you're gone. But if it, if it's like a CCJ for something so small, like, or a parking ticket, I always take a view on it, right? And sometimes I say to the agent, listen, speak to them and give me some context, give me some story. What is this for? Why haven't they noticed this? Are they going to now sort of pay it off? How has it not affected their previous credit? Things like that. So I think, and this shows the differences, that James is sort of happy to say no. I would maybe consider it more. His agent isn't happy. My agent is. That it all depends on you and what you're comfortable with.
Ted,
right?
Ted, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I wanted to say yes to her, but I was just thinking my insurance company, number one, said we wouldn't cover her. The agent's insurance company saying no, we wouldn't cover her. So I'm thinking, you know what? As nice as she seemed, I'm not taking a chance on it, And to be fair, the following guys that came around, their references were just amazing. Everything was green, and they've been really, really good tenants. But getting back to my point, if you're managing it yourself, there are a couple of things I would do. I would put it on straight onto spare room if you've got a HMO, stick it onto spare room, or stick it onto open rent. Now, the beauty of open rent is it gets your property out onto 𝗬𝗲 and onto Rightmove, so it gets it a much bigger audience, and it only costs you something like 30 quid or 40 quid for a small period of time. And also, what open rent do is when somebody applies and you shortlist that person, you think, you know what, I'm going to go with these guys. Open rent for 40 quid offer you a full tenants referencing service. So they put it through their own systems, which I think are insurance backed, and they will actually reference the tenant for you and say, okay, you know what, this adds up, employment adds up, this record adds up, we think they're a good shout to take on. So they give you that peace of mind. So it's not just a website, whereas spare room, I don't think spare room has anything like that. From what I
think it does. I think open rent also can do the AST, it can auto-populate it, it can digitally sign it now. It can basically do everything. For the price you pay, it's pretty awesome. Now, I self-manage, but I don't self-select. I live in a place where I invest in a place where it's very kind of community focused. I need local agents or a localer agent to kind of know who's who in the community and who goes around stealing guitars and who sits at the front of their porch every day in their gown sniffing, etc. So you kind of need to know who's who. And I think depending on your area, the community piece is really interesting. In London, for example, where people are moving here from all over the world, all over the UK, I don't think it necessarily matters so much, but maybe say in the north or Wales or places like that, that local knowledge can be really, really important. And plus, I don't pay a huge amount, again, same with solicitors, because of the business that I've actually now generated that agent. So, it's the same thing, right? That actually, is my whole first month rent going to them? Nope. It's a small percentage of it because of the money that's being generated. So actually, people say, oh, you can save, 300, 600 pounds in your first month. You can, but there are other ways to save that money. And I'd rather, because I'm already doing so much, that's one aspect that I don't particularly care for in terms of I'm not passionate about it. Yes, I've been a recruiter and this is very similar, but I don't want to do that. So I will outsource it. But, open rent and things like this, Gumtree, Facebook, the quality is a bit iffy, but you can do a lot for a little bit of money. And it's like, if I had a property on my road, would I use an agent? No, I'd be on open rent because I'd just pop over and it'd be easy, So I think when you're deciding,
I had a property at 200 meters from me and I used an agent.
And look how it ended up, everyone. So
yeah, exactly, with a shitty wall.
Yeah. So that doesn't mean don't use agents, but with the agents, right, as we're kind of moving along the journey here, like you need to track, okay, when did they take pictures and when is it live? Okay, that's day 0. Every day after that is costing you interest. It's costing you lost rent. It's costing you whatever. So actually, every single day is an issue, and don't get caught up on it, but you need to track it in a spreadsheet. And, every week or every 2 weeks, if there's not much happening or you're like, hey, you need to be like, what's going on? I posted something on Facebook. I had an agent take 81 days. This is my fault for not kicking them off sooner, to find one tenant who failed referencing because overspending on their credit card and got like 3 or 4 CCJs on shopping. Now, that's irresponsible, in my opinion, in my belief of like my money mindset. And she failed referencing anyway, so it was a no. And I said to them, what, 81 days, you got me one tenant. Now, yes, it was above market by 25 quid a month. And the next step was, oh, let's reduce it then. So for fuck's sake. And these agents came recommended. I said, you know what, do one. It was a 14-day clause in the contract. I basically said, look, I'm not following that. We're done. And they said, look, yeah, that's fine. I want you to find a tenant anyway, so go. I was like, okay, you didn't fucking help, did you? So gave it to my man like David. And 7 days later, had 10 viewings, 6 turned up. And we had 2 offers, I believe, and 1 solid offer who absolutely loves the house. And she's moved in, and it's great, and it's all good. And that took 7, and this is during lockdown, by the way, 7 days versus 81. I'm the idiot. I'm with stupid because I didn't track those 81 days. The agent's obviously an idiot. I also took a property off them that I was selling with them, even though they weren't doing a bad job, because I was like, nah, I'm not giving you any money, you're whack. So like, make sure you're tracking things if you're using agents. And
you must have been really busy for 81 days if you didn't even look at it.
I think, you know what, I was really busy. I sort of thought, well, it's lockdown. Some of my other properties are still taking a bit of time. And you know what, I didn't track it. Only until then, I was like, hold on a minute. Because I was building up a bit of an argument to be like, you're shit. I was like, okay, it's taken that long. And that's crazy because rental demand pretty much anywhere is huge, right? Especially for a nice white, grey, you know, funky floor, new kitchen, new bathroom type place. So yeah, it really is my fault, you know, for not kicking them off earlier, you know. But I think both these stories, like your HMO and this, just show that actually you do make mistakes, but people listening, don't make these mistakes. Track everything. I track how long my conveyancing takes, how long my refurbs take. Don't even ask about that bullshit. Refurbs take way too long. Track how long everything takes, so then you can
track how many boilers you lose.
No, I don't, James. Okay, no, I don't. But I'm looking forward.
Dad joke.
Yeah, it was definitely a dad joke, Uncle. I'm looking forward to your Worcester boiler. You're gonna get me Worcester. Yeah, I want the big boy boiler. Yeah, so James, that's I guess how to sort of find a tenant and make sure they're, you know.
You know what? A number 1 tip: don't rush into it. You don't have to accept the first person that turns up. Remember, you took a long time to sort this renovation out, or you've taken a long time to get this property to where it is. A labor of love. You know, you've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it. Definitely. So don't just take the first person who turns up if there might be a slight doubt in your mind about it. You know.
And you know what, James? You know what you said about letting agents not telling you everything. When they're finding you a tenant as well, they're not going to tell you everything. They're going to say, "Oh yeah, past referencing, salary's fine. Landlord references came back okay. We're all good. Can I see it? Oh no, you can't. GDPR. Whose house is it? Don't get that shit from them. You are the landlord. GDPR does not exist when you're the landlord. It exists because you need to see the document. So firstly, if they say that, that's a warning sign. 1, they're either thick, or 2,
good tip,
hiding something, right? Also, I always say, send me the reference, send me the report. My agent uses 𝗬𝗏.co.uk. You can do them yourself, I think. Send me the report because you're saying the salary's okay. And, you know, I don't know what the multiplier is, like 2.25 the rent or something. But you have to also consider and say, right, okay, if the rent is 10 grand a year, and their salary is, let's say, 20 grand a year, and they pass, after tax, that's 16 grand a year. Are they going to then live off 6 grand over 12 months? Is that possible? Now, look, it might be possible where you invest, but it might not. You need to think from your own perspective. Hold on. Even if you're a bit bougie, ignore Whole Foods and Waitrose. Just say, could I live off 6 grand a year? And if they have a child, say, okay, could they support that child as well? Like, or there's one working, one not. You need to actually say that, yeah, the multiplier is good, like, but fuck the multiplier. Realistically, can they actually afford to pay the rent and live a good life? Because if they can't, then what's the first thing they're going to stop paying? Yeah, okay, it might not be. You hope it's not, but it's the easiest thing not to pay because tenants have way too much protection in this country. It's ridiculous. So that's, and a lot of them know this. So they'll just stop paying because they can be there for 3-4 months. The council will say, oh, just stay there. We don't give a shit, bastards that they are. So really, it's very difficult for us as landlords to deal with that. So at the start, you don't take anyone in that house until you have given written permission to that agent that you accept these references. And if you're not happy, and the agent's like, oh, well, we spent like a week trying to find someone, or spend another week then, you know? I don't give a shit. You're getting paid to do something, do it right. Okay, don't accept that from them. And if they're like whining, say, okay, I'll use your competitor then. Thanks for the business anyway. Appreciate your time, arsehole. Bye. Right? So don't take shit from them and don't accept, oh, we can't send this. Oh, we can't do this. Oh, the markets, you're not going to find a tenant. Whatever. Rental demand is huge everywhere.
Yeah.
So
it's very important for you to check things, man. It's like where I am now in my flat. I used to rent this out before. And it was, funny enough, it was Repton's as well, when they used to be okay, but now they're not. They said to me, yeah, we got a group of 4 nurses that want to rent it. Young nurses working in the local hospital. I said, fine. You know what it turned out to be? They turned out to be pole dancers, and they were running a flipping massage parlor here where people were coming in having specialist treatments done.
Well, they're still nursing people better in some shape.
Yeah, but
mentally,
still,
spiritually,
listen. When you got Doris down the road who's telling you that men are arriving all time, because listen, Doris down there knows everything. She's been there a long time. Doris is the local community meeting. Yeah. And you know, she's saying, James, something's not right there. If you're not going there to check this out, there's always a problem. It's funny why my mate would always go around there and change the light bulb when that needed doing. Anything like that needed doing. But you got to be so careful, man. It can be on your own doorstep and it can be so close to you. If you're not going in and physically looking yourself or listening, you don't know what you've got in there.
I agree. And actually, that's another point. Inspections. Most people do it every 6 months. When it comes to tenants, I will say to them, look, and obviously coronavirus pending, I've got, I think, a few inspections to do. I would say, look, I'm going to come in at 3 months, 6 months, and then a year, right? Because I want to get in early at 3 months and make sure there's no horticultural activity, should we say, going on, or anything silly, or they haven't kicked a door in, or, you know, something stupid. And I also want to check the property because they may not notice issues. They may not notice like a damp patch. And I want to be like, I want to fix that. You know, some people are, you know, I had these 2 lads, they're proper lads, in one of my houses, and there's a problem with the guttering in the roof, and then that's conked the shower out, and actually the 𝗶𝘂𝘃's going to go fix it on Friday. And I said to them, lads, I'm really sorry. The closest I can get a roofer is like Friday. And they told me on Wednesday night, I think. I said, does the shower work? They were like, no. I was like, is there a shower thing on the bath? They were like, no. I was like, I'm really sorry about today. They're like, mate, that's super quick. Thanks, mate. That's really good. I was like, okay, firstly, what you're going to be bathing in? And secondly, what did your landlord do before? Say, oh, sorry, lads, can you wait a month, please, for the shower? I was like, fuck, I need a roofer. I need a 𝗶𝘂𝘃. And they were just like, mate, whatever. I was like, what, you wet wiping? Are you sponge bathing? What's the deal? There is a bath. There's a bath there. Of course, they can use a bath. People do take baths. I forgot. So it's having that relationship. And me, even though I know, they're not bothered by this stuff, if anything happens again, I'm always going to be like, dude, I'm so sorry. I'm getting someone there ASAP, because it's the sort of right thing to do. And I do feel bad. You know, you want to get someone there ASAP, and you want to, you know, stop them having to buy wet wipes and stuff.
You know, just to add to that point, Tej, when you got issues, so I use something called 𝗵𝘁𝘁𝘁, piece of software. What 𝗵𝘁𝘁𝘁 is, I use that to do a full inspection of the house before someone moves in, list everything. Now, the tenant then goes through this file, and if there's anything they disagree with, they just put a comment there, a note. What it does is, at the end, it generates a report off, which shows you that you two have agreed on this date that these are the issues been recorded. There's a little line here. There's this, there's that. So you're perfectly happy. And the other good thing is, what I've said to my tenants now is, especially in that new build London house, if there's ever an issue, use 𝗵𝘁𝘁𝘁𝘁 to report it to me. So they go in. Just last week, the woman said to me, not last week, a month ago, she said, look, there's a slight bit of dribby water coming in from the roof window that you can walk on, the roof glass. So I thought, you know what? Let me get that addressed straight away. Got the window contractor around there. He resealed it all, because obviously he doesn't want a problem with it. Resealed it all. She's happy. We're happy. On 𝗵𝘁𝘁𝘁𝘁, she's agreed. This has been done. She's happy with that. and it's all signed off, and you've got a record of it. Because if there's ever something in the future where she says, I stopped paying my rent because of this, you can say, no, but it was addressed, you signed it for this. The other good thing I find about 𝗵𝘁𝘁𝘁 is we had a small little issue in another house where there was a leak on a wall and we couldn't find the leak. She took pictures of it, sent it to me. I uploaded a job on Trust a Trader, My Builder, found someone, really good references, spoke to him. He went round there, sorted it all out, charged me 100 quid. She's happy, I'm happy, the job's done, I'm not stressing, she's not stressing, and everything's there, registered, listed, and she's happy. You know, so little things like this. I always say to my tenants, if there's something you spot, tell me straight away, because I want to get it addressed. I don't want it to become a massive issue. If it's small, I want to address it when it's small, not when the house is falling down.
Yeah, that's a really good tip, a bit of technology to use there. And also proact, because a lot of, you know, tenants assume landlords are that same thing we said. They're faceless, they're not going to help. They're just like, oh, whatever, oh, we don't want to bother them in case they try and evict us. Like, that's even easy to do or anything like that. But it's a worry that they have, especially if you read the Daily Mail and all this crap. So they are potentially fearful of telling us that something's wrong because they're like, oh, I don't want them, you know, blah, blah. So you have to set from day one, look, if something's wrong, tell me. It's not your fault. If the guttering's fallen off, I mean, unless you've karate kicked it off, it's not your fault. So we will get it fixed. And so I think it's important to really kind of set that tone with them. And actually, just at a point, I'm setting up when all of these get let, I'm setting up a kind of VA function. I've made like a flow chart and instructions and videos that basically every tenant will have an email address and a WhatsApp number that they can WhatsApp or call, and my number in extreme emergencies. And what they'll do is they'll WhatsApp or they'll email my VA, and I'll have oversight of the inbox if I need to. He or she will then have the list of contacts for every type of job, who are approved, who are pre-safe, who I know their prices are right. And basically, if there's any issues, it goes to the VA, contractor gives a quote, I'll just say, tick, carry on, it'll get organized, it will be done. So actually, I'm going to outsource myself, but at the cost of, you know, £4 or £5 an hour ad hoc.
But you got software that already does that, haven't you? There is software that landlords use it. Letting agents use it.
Oh,
I looked into it a little while ago.
The tenant management software like Arthur, GoTenant, stuff like that.
Yeah, you could have all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
But does it automate the actual messages, and does it respond back to the tenant and say, hi, thank you, sorry for your email, blah, blah, blah? That is the part. That's the part I want, is the human part. Like
that. Yeah, yeah, okay.
If anyone knows any...
WhatsApp groups are a big one, man. Big one. I use them all the time. And you know what? It's nice because if you've got a new tenant moving into a HMO as well, it's a nice way of introducing them to the group before they even moved in. They can have a bit of banter. And what you find is the WhatsApp groups are really good because if there's an issue as well, people will report it to you. You know, and if they want to talk privately about another tenant who lives in that house, they'll private message you and let you know what, this guy's been getting up to all sorts of stuff. So I find WhatsApp groups are quite personal and they're really, really good. But I would always say, get your VA to manage your WhatsApp group, because if you're too pally-pally with your tenants, they will start for every single issue, because they'll take the piss as well. Any tiny issue, and they'll start saying to you, I need a light bulb. Well, go to Tesco's, it's 60p, you know, whatever.
Yeah, he stole my cheese, yeah. Standard.
Yeah, little things like that. So just be wary as well, because it works in two ways.
And actually, shout out to Maygreen. They use a VA to manage all their WhatsApp groups and like just everything. And it frees up so much time. You don't want to get involved in the nitty gritty. And that's something, you know, to do with HMOs in particular, groups. Obviously for buy-to-lets, if you got one person in there, you just have a chat with them. But you know what, James, I think something that's important to do, right, is if a tenant has, if a tenant's been found by an agent, or even if you found him yourself, when it comes up to that first month's rent, like, well, after they've paid the first month advance, when it comes to the second month, I send them an email or a text the day before rent is due, or when it's due, just to say, hey, just making sure you have the right bank details, you know, cybercrime and all that, for your standing order for the rent that's due today or tomorrow. So what I'm basically saying is, wink, this is a gentle reminder, but I'm also saying, look, I'm also wanting to confirm, here's the bank details. And it serves as a reminder. Like I've had one tenant, these two lads without a shower, pay a day late on the second month. I was like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, we forgot to set up a standing order. Really, here's the proof. They literally 7 a.m. on the next day they did it. So I was like, okay, I'm now keeping an eye on them. Like they've already, although it was
the card is marked.
Exactly. And that's not like, it's not to say that I'm going to hold a grudge. But again, next month, I will text them before and say, just to make sure you set up standing order, because you were late last month. Whereas there's others, but this is the kind of thing I think you have to just keep a little note of, because these little things can build up and can be issues, and I don't think it will be, from my conversations from them and things like that. But like, just have these little reminders.
But then, you know what, you got stuff like Go Cardless as well. You could use stuff like that now.
Yeah, they take like a percentage. You know what I'm saying? I'm not about that. So I just,
yeah, I didn't think you were.
So I just make them set up the standing order. So James, with tenants, I think, that the majority of tenants that I have are very good. There's been no issues. They're in it for the long term. Oh my God. My phone just keeps falling.
You really need to prepare better. You know that. You're always having a go at me for not doing this, for not doing that.
It normally works. It's your vibe. It's your vibe.
I bet you haven't even got a stand, have you? I bet you just propped it up like that because you're so tight to spend £5 on Amazon.
I have got it propped up on my computer. The stand I have, no, because the stand I have doesn't fit on this. I've actually got a Joby stand, which is like £12. So I went premium.
Well, wow, you must have saved for a while for that.
I know, buy to lets, and you got to save a while for those little things. So I think the majority of tenants are good and want to pay their rent. Well, the majority of tenants that you find and assess as being good are good and want to pay their rent and things like that. But you have to track everything. And actually, as I get all these I'm going to look at a software, like one of these bits of software, maybe even 𝗵𝘁𝘁𝗄. They seem really cool. They're like a startup with a bank and also like a tracker. Check them out. To track these things, because you don't want to leave it to memory. And especially if there's a maintenance job to do, you kind of want to have it logged against that job, so you don't forget and like, oh crap, I haven't done that chimney. It's been a week. What's going on? Because you don't want to give people an excuse, and understand that, if you were in Nando's serving food, right? Your customers, their opinion matters and their money matters. It's what pays the bills. And I think something, James, that people do not think about, which people think about in tech startups and just startups in general, is customer experience, CX, or tenant experience, or whatever you want to call them, experience. Because do we think, how do they go from the advert to applying, to having a conversation with the agent, to being rejected, to then the ones that make it through? How's their move-in experience? How's their first day experience? How's their experience with us, and how are we handling things? What is that tenant, that TX, what is that tenant experience like? Because they are your customers. If we were in some startup, right, we would be looking at our customer experience, our candidate experience, and be like, oh, are people, going the right stages? We'd have software to analyze it. But in property, you're just like, no, your tenant, pay the money or else I'll evict you, blah, blah, blah. That's just not how it works, right? So big up good tenants and big up good landlords.
𝗵𝘁𝘁𝘁 just said FixFlow. FixFlow was that one that I was telling you about. That's a management.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'm gonna have a look at that.
Kedge, just to add to this, imagine how different landlords would be if they were being reviewed. If there was a reviewing system by a tenant who had to review a landlord, would landlords quickly ship-shape and sort themselves out? Of course they would. Yeah, if there was a Trustpilot for landlord, because the first thing, if you see 2 stars on Trustpilot, you're not doing that, are you? You're going to be
certain property trainers have 2 stars on Trustpilot and they make loads of money. So I don't know if people even realize that Trustpilot.
Maybe there should be a vetting process for landlords as well.
It's an interesting one, and you know what? I'm actually looking to rent my own property. Unfortunately, I have to leave the nest. But like, when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking of things that I would want me to do as a landlord. And when I go to the agent, I'm going to ask them certain questions and look at the house and assess and say, right, tell me about the landlord. Most people don't. They just say, oh, rent a house. Yeah, here's the money. I'm going to say, no. Who is the landlady? Tell me about them. What do they do? Where do they live? What's their approach? How, you know what I mean? And more renters should maybe do that. Maybe it's the onus is on them to then ask and not just... Maybe it's the fear. Maybe it's the fear of asking, like, oh, I just really want to rent a nice place, and just, maybe it's like we're all just fucked, basically. That's how I'd summarize just life, anyway. But right, so James, let's briefly talk about our HMO experience. Now, we need a jingle, don't we, for HMO experience?
Oh yeah, we'll get my VA to produce one, because she does a lot of singing jingles, doesn't she?
Oh my god, what? Your VA is amazing.
But for campaigns,
runs your business, mate.
She pretty much does now, man. Pretty much does.
Were you going to say she does presidential campaign voiceovers?
Jingles for him, yeah, in the Philippines, yeah.
That is, I mean, wow, you got a celebrity VA.
I have, man, I have. I'm holding her close.
Impressive. So, let's talk about James. HMO Experience, what is it?
Right, so the HMO Experience is a thing that me and Tej have put together. I'll say a thing, it's a colossal thing that we've put together. You know, when we first looked at it, we were like, wow, we've got so much to do because we want to offer so much value with it. So basically, in a nutshell, what it is the HMO you saw on the live yesterday, the house, which is pretty much going back to brick and being renovated as a new 6-bed HMO, all with ensuite, singing, dancing, interior designers, all looking great. So what we've decided to do is, off the back of that, we have a 5-day experience. We're calling it a 5-day experience. The 5 days don't run consecutively together. They are tied in with scheduled deadlines on the build. So day 1 would be where you see the site where it's just been cleared out. There's a hell of a lot of classroom-based stuff that we're doing on day 1 as well. We've got the packs. If anybody's interested, we'll send you across the pack for it. But there's a hell of a lot of stuff on it. Day 2, again, is linked with the site when the site moves a little bit further on. We've got certain guest speakers coming in who are industry standard, you know, professionals. People really know who they are. They're doing big things.
But you can name some of them.
Yeah. So we've got Shaz from 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝗲 looking at the finance. We got my man 𝗏𝗲𝘁𝗏𝗏 up in Manchester. I think he's live here on this Instagram today. This guy, man, when he talks about figures, I'm telling you, this guy.
No prisoners.
If anybody thinks they're good at looking at costing, go and speak to Safe, man, because this guy would just blow your mind at how he looks. He's an accountant by trade, so he's used to figures, but this guy can price a project so close to the budget, and it amazes me his level of thinking and how deep he is. So we've got him coming in doing a talk and talking about costing a project. Basically what it is, we're looking at showing people what you would do from taking a house that's got a shitty wall to being a full-on house ready to rent to a tenant. We're going to take you through the whole process, everything.
So we're looking at like every step, right? So mindset, systems, process. Two days are very refurb heavy. So soil stacks, the heating, the overflow tanks, whatever you call them, you put in your HMOs, the electrics, how to build in en-suites, how to look at space, how to find the deal back at the start, how to then get it rented out, the legislation, the changes that are coming up. Basically, what James said, how to take a house from 0 to hero, and to show you physically every step along the way, and actually to show you the inevitable problems that are going to happen and the inevitable issues that we are going to, not going to be new to us, but they'll be new to this project. They won't necessarily be anticipated. You're going to walk on site with us one day for the first time we've walked on it and be like, is that supposed to be like that? And we're going to say, no, it fucking isn't. What is this? Right? Like, I know it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I just know it is. So there's a lot of value to add from, you know, it is a HMO experience. So it is mainly about HMOs. However, of course, I don't do HMOs. I'm a buy-to-let dude. So there will be a lot of general learning, and the 5 days are split. So you can do day 1, 3, 5, whatever, or do all 5. We've got 10 spaces, and we have 5 people who have passed the questionnaire application stage. We've got to do a phone call with all of them. But from what I think I know most of them, I have a feeling they're probably going to pass the telephone stage as well. So I think 5 of the spaces are gone. It is over, you know, sort of 6 to 10 weeks, I think, depending on the stages of the HMO. So it's not just 5 consecutive days. We're trying to do weekends just because not everyone is full-time property. But some other guest speakers, we have 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝗏𝘁 coming, we have Shaz. We have another guest speaker, which I can't reveal yet, but
hold on. We got the property apprentice, Craig Sullivan.
Big up the grafters.
The original grafter.
Original grafter.
Yeah,
if you don't follow him, go
He's
check him out.
He's got 90 HMOs and 330 tenants. So if somebody knows something about managing tenants, it's this guy. And he has a very small fail rate.
That's your boy. And then we've got another, someone who's coming to talk about interior design and branding your space and making it look sexy, but undisclosed person yet, but believe us, you know who they are. And lastly, we have my big sister, big up, Spot the Dave, who is going to come, and she has just finished her, she just messaged me, I think her 11th HMO. in a year and a half. She sourced them, she's managed them. Her refurbs cost 90 grand. So we've got such a range of people who are big, who are small, who've done different things, different aspects, as well as us, as well as, you know, us, which are obviously good. We're all right. We have some amazing people that are going to come and deliver value to you. And that's
got the food and the social and the drinks.
There's going to be socials. James is going to get pissed. James's mum might make a guest appearance and pick him up from the floor of the pub. And there's going to be, apparently there's going to be some samosa. I've heard rumors, maybe paneer. I mean, I'm not trying to entice you, but I would go for the food simply. And networking. So James, that is our HMO experience. If people want to know more about it, message me or James. The person you message is your favorite of the duo. So pick wisely, people. Man. Pick wisely. Message James though. He loves admin work, sending emails, and we'll send you out a pack and we'll send you the questionnaire, and we can go from there. There's five spaces left. It's actually limited spaces, like just because of the actual space in the house.
We want it to be quite a small kind of event as well, where we can really focus our attention. And if you haven't, when you look at the HMO pack that we'll send out to you, you'll see how in-depth it is, because even we're looking at it sometimes and thinking, wow, there's a lot to fit in one day. So it's going to be full on. And we're going to talk about everything that other people don't talk about. So we're going to tell you it all as it is. All the fuckeries that happen, everything that can go wrong, all the good stuff, no hiding, nothing. You're going to see it. And then hopefully you're going to see a physical finished product at the end of it if everything goes right.
Which is not going to. And there's no upsell because we don't have anything to sell. We don't this is just a one-off thing we're doing. We're innovating, trying to disrupt. And there's rumor of some merchandise, perhaps useful merchandise, not just free pens and goodies, shit, but actual useful stuff. My book might be released then. You might get a signed copy. Signed copy. Sharpie, not Sharpie. Right, James.
When did you put that in?
I just put it in now, mate. I just live exclusive. Right, wow. James, we have forgotten again to ask people to do something. What is it?
We'll post for you. Please take a screenshot, share it on socials, tag us both in, please.
Model pose. Cool. Thank you so much for joining us on episode 16 of the Property Duo. Any questions, any feedback, any topics you want us to cover, please send us a message. Please leave a review for both of our podcasts on Facebook and on any Apple device. And we shall see you next week.
Bye-bye, everybody.